Well, I'm trying a new video format. We'll see how it works. I don't know if I like it too much. Here we are in Houston, loading again for Africa. This is going to be a longer trip, I guess, from what it sounds like. We may end up all up and down the west coast of Africa on this trip. But we got to either go to Accra, Tema, or one of those two right now to drop this deck load off, and then we got to go shuttle around, dropping other loads off at various little ports. Tema, Takoradi, Point Noir, Dakar, down to Angola, and hit Libido and Luanda, and then back with a load of lead, I guess. So anyhow, we're gonna get out of here in a couple of days, and it won't be too soon for me. So anyhow, it's just hot and miserable down here. We finally got out of here about a day and a half later. We were up about noon. I was on a 4-to-8 watch, luckily. I can work a lot of overtime with that. And going across, we got a lot of that. We did a lot of deck work, what little we could around all the equipment on deck. And we made it to Accra, I think it was. And we dropped a load off. And I noticed when we were there, there was a load of more pole trucks and more backhoes and tractors too. And I was in a bar there in Accra, and I was sucking this guy in this hotel bar, and I was asking about that equipment out there, and he said, "Yeah, that stuff's been there since the last ship came in, and the Caterpillar's down the road a little ways." He said, "You can find it down there." I said, "No kidding." He said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, they ran it down there and they put oil in it. It froze up." I said, "Holy crap." So anyhow, we learned a hard lesson there. And I meant to tell you, something? We had some, what they call them, Peace Corps workers on board the ship that we dropped off too, that I met some time ago. And they were telling me about the same story. I got to thinking it was they're supposed to be building a bridge or something, and they did the same thing. Drove the tractor without the Caterpillar without a wall, and it froze up. And the next time I saw him, we were back on another trip to Africa. I met him in this same damn town, Accra, and he said he was down there in the bar drinking with us, and I got talking to him, and he said he'd been trying to teach him to grow corn or something and vegetables, and they didn't care about what he was doing. So he was doing all the planting and all the cultivating and everything. So he said he just quit. Now he sits here at the bar and drinks. That's a Peace Corps, all right. Anyhow, we left Accra, went up to Tema, and then back over to Takoradi with some more stuff. And we ended up at Abidjan. I think it was Abidjan where we stayed in a hotel. Buddy and I did. It was his first time to see a big debt. He didn't know what that was. He thought it was a funny looking toilet, but when he turned the spigot on, boy, it scared the hell out of him. That spray came out of there. I had to explain what it was. Anyhow, we had fun just sitting around. No whores, no heavy drinking. It was just Africa just didn't lend itself for that. It was just hot and humid. So we left there and we went up to Dakar. Now, Dakar was a little different. They had a lot of French, but they didn't care about us Americans, that's for sure. We were just non-existent. But it's an old buddy and I decided to go to a French restaurant and eat, and it was a pretty nice place. And we were over there, we ate and drank and carried on a little bit. And it was a good meal. Went to reach for my wallet and didn't have so good. I said, "I hope you brought your wallet, man. And he reached, he says, "God almighty, I forgot mine too." And I said, "You're kidding me." And I was about to panic then. We'd spent about $25, $30 on food and booze in that place. And I didn't know what the hell to do. And I called that Major D over. And what little French I could speak, I told him we were working on a ship. And we'd left our money on the ship. And if you let my friend stay here, I'll be back with the money. And so he agreed to that, thank God. So I ended up going out and getting a cab, got him down to the dock, and I told him to wait there, and I was going back to the restaurant, and I'd just pay him then. So we did that, and I got the money and got back in the cab, went back out there. When I come in the door, my buddy was pale as a he was scared shitless. Drinking water and shaking. Anyhow, he was so glad to see me. He come running over, and we paid the major D off, I guess, and got back in the cab and went back to the ship. Anyhow, it was a relief to get out of that situation. So we're underway now. We went back to Point Noir. Now that was a pretty place. I'll tell you, that Point Noir was a beautiful little port. We ate in a cafe or a restaurant in a hotel, and it had picture windows, glass all the way around, two sides, and it faced out towards the beach. You could see the white sand and through the jungle of the trees and all that. And the moon was out, and man, it made a pretty scene. I thought, man, if I ever get married, I'm gonna come back here for a honeymoon, boy. It was that beautiful. So we ate and left, and got back on the ship. We were gone the next day, and we headed for Libido, and we got into Libido, and we're gonna be there a while because they're gonna be loading some lead or something. I don't know what we were taking on there, but yeah, we went ashore, and the Portuguese just didn't like us either. And then in Libido, they didn't have much entertainment. We tried to go to some bars, but these people gave us nasty looks. These young people around there, they didn't take to us much at all, and we just felt uncomfortable. We didn't want to ask the girls to dance because there's no prostitutes per se. So we ended up going up to a restaurant and having some beer and sitting out in their patio on the beach, on that beach side, and watching the ocean and drinking beer. And we found out they sell a lobster real cheap for like 180 escudos. That's whatever they use, escudos. About 50 cents, about all it was. And this langosta was like a lobster except it had a single horn out the head. Just a big long snout looking thing. And we ate them, man, they're as good as any lobster you'd ever ate. So we sat there and ate 50-cent lobster all damn night. And we got back to the ship and told the chief cook about it. Said, why don't you go up there and buy a couple of hundred of them damn things and put them in the ice box. And he said, hell, we'll do that. So we all chipped in, and they went up there, and I guess he bought a whole bushel basket full of these damn lobsters, and we filled the freezer with them. We took off and went to where was it? Luanda, and that was a bigger city. And there we did take on a lot of lead and loads, and we didn't take on no deck loads, but we took on a hell of a lot of lead. Boy, I mean, she went down in the water, that ship did. And there, I think a couple of guys got laid there, but I didn't. I never got laid down there. I can't remember. One of the Sparks was out there filming something on the back of one of these trucks that we had unloaded some bags of grain or something for the Africans down there. And he was filming these two blacks on there sucking each other off. And I couldn't believe he was even doing that. What the fuck, man? I said to him, and he said, something you don't see every day. I said, yeah, that's true, and I ain't worth looking at it. So anyhow, that Africa was a weird place, man. It just for all the crap that went on in public, just couldn't believe. In fact, I talked to some Portuguese guy there that was, I guess it was either Libido or Luanda, that had a bridge, and they wouldn't let Africans in there. No, you couldn't go there if you're black unless you had a pass, a work pass, to get into that city. And man, these cops carried machine guns and axes. They had a billy club that had an axe head on it. Damn, it's frightening, and they wore these chrome helmets. They looked pretty serious. I never screwed with them, but I got talking to this one guy, and he said, yeah, you can go over there to the black side and see the old slave ports, where the Portuguese used to bring the slaves to the United States. I said, you're kidding me. He said, no, they got the auction blocks. And he was telling me about how they used to, his grandfather, because they'd been there 400-something years, he said, and he was told about his his grandfather, having having worked in that industry, or his great grandfather, I guess it would be, and he said that the African tribes used to bring them in all the time. He said that was a big deal. They'd pay them other tribes to go out and capture blacks and bring them in to sell them to the trade. So they were selling their own damn people to the Portuguese. Well, anyhow, we got out of Luanda and started headed back towards New Orleans. And on the way back, I was just on coming on a watch. I guess it was 4 in the afternoon. Sun was still up, still bright, and I was the first man on the wheel. And I was looking out, and the mate and I were looking at something white on the horizon. We couldn't figure out what the heck it was. And then he got binoculars and looked out there and said, "Well, look, damn, that's a square rigger." I said, "You're kidding me, a big square rigger." He said, he called the captain. I don't know if it was Captain West then or not, but captain came up. And he said, "Well, let's steer over there." He gave me he said, "Go towards that." I steer towards it hard, a couple of degrees to the starboard. And so I turned it off and went off, followed the new course, headed straight for them. Because it wasn't that far off our course, because they kind of headed for us too. And we got up on it, and we could see a big Maltese cross, like Christopher Columbus, on the front sail, main sail. And they went by and they were waving at us. They had these girls on there with bikinis and all these young guys just yelling at us, and we were just looking down on them. Jesus. And I was on the wheel, so I couldn't leave the wheel. I had it on iron mic, but still I couldn't leave. And they went out there on the wing of the bridge, and they were all waving. I didn't get to see the bikini girls, but I heard about them. So anyhow, we made it back to New Orleans, and we unloaded. I meant to tell you too on the way. That cooked that lobster, that langosta. We had langosta and everything. I mean, we even had an egg omelet with langosta. Jesus Christ. We couldn't eat all those lobsters. In fact, we got to New Orleans, we still had a couple left in there for the next crew going back. That's how much. I mean, we ate lobster night and day, man. Everything was served with lobster. I don't care if it was stew, soup. So anyhow, that was a good trip. I really enjoyed it. Our next trip, we're going to be going to South America, I guess. I'm going to be making a couple trips on this show. I'm going to stay on board for another 2 or 3 trips, I think, because I'm going to South America next trip. And I decided to stay. So we'll see you next trip here. Bye now.